Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Annie, and this is Unity Consciousness. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I'd like to welcome our new subscribers and also thank those of you who are returning for this week's energy update. It is a huge week, huge week. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently today because I've got 2 pages of notes. I had someone come in. I never know who I'm really channeling. I don't pay attention to names, but I have 2 full pages of notes and I don't want to lose anything. So I'm going to be reading from my notes today, so I make sure that we have everything covered that needs to be covered this week. We're going to be discussing the energy that began actually over the weekend, but then intensifies over the course of the week. And the week culminates with a partial, it's a supermoon, new supermoon partial solar eclipse in the sign of Aries next weekend. Then Neptune's going to jump into from Pisces into Aries. Again, huge week. We're in between eclipses. The veil is thinned. This is an opportune time for us to make shifts in our lives that have ramifications that are certainly life-changing. So let's jump right in. On the 22nd over the weekend, or early on the 23rd today, the Sun was conjunct Venus at 2 degrees of Aries, and Venus is retrograde. This is part of Venus's synodic. It's a repeat of a synodic cycle that Venus regularly participates in and creates a rose pattern in the sky, if you will. But this synodic cycle that she's repeating was from 2017. So it's a revisiting of that cycle with a more higher level, higher functioning understanding of who we are relative to everything that Venus is representative of. The eclipse in Mercury retrograde cazimi, which is also going to occur this week. This energy, as well as Venus and the Sun conjuncting, is a rocket booster that's accompanying Pluto, which is going to sextile the Sun. And that's also incorporated as well in this rocket booster energy. All energy now is performing on a quantum level to afford us the optimal expansion. Okay. Now today we will have the Sun, which is at 3 degrees of Aries, is going to sextile Pluto. This energy is really important. Any and all of the planets that reach 3 degrees of Aries this week and over the weekend will be communicating with Pluto. And if you recall back quite some time ago, when Pluto first went into the sign of Aquarius before it retrograded back for its final transit of Capricorn, Pluto met with each one of the planets, the personal planets, as they came across that threshold, asking them to be authentic. And that was the only way to be honest and authentic. So now that the Sun is going to once again sextile Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius, Pluto's been in the sign since November now. Reminding the Sun again that authenticity is an absolute must as you awaken. And again, the Sun is in Aries, so this is your true essence. So authenticity is a must as you awaken, then manifest from a place of true essence. It is truly this sextile is readying us for the new beginnings that are going to be emerging over the course of the next 6 months. Because remember, that Sun is going to carry the signature forward and then connect with the moon this weekend for that new moon eclipse that's going to be happening. So the signature is being carried forward of authenticity, so that when we hit that new moon and begin that new beginning, that spark of the new beginnings, we really need to come from a place of awakening our true essence as we manifest with that new beginning. Pluto sextiled Venus retrograde on the 21st, so late last week, and then will also sextile Mercury this week on the 25th for the same purpose. Pluto is reminding these two personal planets that are now retrograde, that's heavy in introspection, revisiting themes from the past. It's an internal adjustment, asking you to revisit previous relationships and communications, thought processes, and how you can transform through authenticity and honesty. It is the truth of the I am, okay? Very powerful energy. There was an instance that occurred earlier today to me. There was a trigger that showed up in my sphere of understanding, and immediately, well, I wouldn't say immediately, it took a very short period of time before I was able to recover, because I remembered my true essence. And instead of it being a true trigger of a reactive situation, I was able to respond, and it was an internal response. It was a mental process or a thought process that I went through that completely transmuted this energy from being a reactive want to a very responsive, comforting, heart-centered resolution of that energy. Now, on the 24th, which is going to be Monday of this week, the Sun in Aries will conjunct Mercury. Okay, so Mercury will then have its cazimi with the Sun when Venus just had the cazimi over the weekend, which was revisiting that synodic cycle from 2017. Now, tomorrow, the day after that, on the 25th, Mercury will then sextile Pluto. So that's important to note. Remember, it's going to make Mercury will have a cazimi with the Sun and then sextile Pluto. It's, again, the internal process of allowing yourself to fully trust the process at hand, even if you do not have all the answers or a clear direction forward. On the 29th, which is later this weekend, he's going to leave Aries and re-enter Pisces, because he's going in that retrograde fashion to revisit 12th house thought processes and communications. Be authentic and honest and trust the process. Here we are again, trusting the process. Then on the 25th, which now we're on Tuesday, Black Moon Lilith will be activated. Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees of Libra. That's an anaretic degree of Libra. And anaretic degrees are crisis points. We know that Lilith and Chiron and Mars have been very active in the past almost year, I'd say, helping us with the Karpman's drama triangle, helping us resolve differences in relationships, understand our true essence, understand wounding, understanding and awakening heart-centered consciousness, so we can resolve some of these long-standing issues and wounding that's been a part of our essence since birth, perhaps, or maybe even before. Well, Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees of Libra is going to quincunx Neptune and Pisces. And this is relationship dynamics being unclear. Trust your gut. Pay attention to your dreams and watch for deceit in relationships. Okay? On the 26th, which is now Wednesday, Venus will become visible. When Venus goes into a cazimi, depending on whether she's close to the sun, close to Earth or on the other side of the sun, she disappears for a period of time. With this particular conjunction, she's closest to Earth, so she's going to become visible relatively quickly. Meaning, when she becomes visible, we will be able to integrate what we need to relative to her retrograde cycle. Venus cazimis indicate halfway through a retrograde cycle when she's closest to Earth, and she is now emerging as a morning star. So at this time on Wednesday, when she becomes visible, it's time for integration and realization of our true essence realities. Then on the 27th, she returns to her sign of exaltation, which is Pisces, to revisit 12th house matters in relationships, self-worth, value, desires, and prosperity. Keep in mind, she's helping us to understand our true essence as part of that retrograde cycle. So when she backs into Pisces, where she's all exalted, back into that 12th house level of understanding, we will understand our true essence better so that we can resolve some of those 12th house issues, okay? She will go direct on the 12th of April and then re-enters Aries on the 30th. So as she is moving through this retrograde cycle, we're going to be working with that 12th house energy. Re-enters Aries on the 30th. We're a stronger version of ourselves. She's now direct. We can truly fully engage in that new synodic cycle of the repeat of 2017. And then on the 16th of May, she's fully out of shadow at 10 degrees of Aries. On that same day, we're going to be talking more about the Karpman's triangle with relative to relationships with family. Chiron is at 21 degrees, 59 minutes of Aries, still carrying messages of the work that we have conducted relative to relationship dynamics and wounding, having to substantiate your existence, the right to be seen and heard. That energy is going to be squaring Mars post-retrograde. He's still in shadow. He's not fully up to speed. But if you recall, that retrograde cycle, Mars retrograde cycle, was all about helping us understand heart-centered consciousness, not reactivity from the ego. So that instance where Chiron is squaring Mars, that triggering energy, is asking us to respond, not react, from heart-centered consciousness, not from a place of ego, fear-driven reactivity. Remember, Black Moon Lilith is at anaretic degree of Libra, asking for resolve before she heads into Scorpio. Trust me on that one. Before she heads into Scorpio. Protection of family or home can be themes as Mars is in Cancer. We look to the ruler of Cancer, the moon, because we want to understand this energy a little bit more deeply. And the moon is in Aquarius, again, asking for truth and authenticity. Those are themes this week, that's for sure. Then on the 27th, we will have Venus, which is retrograde in the sign of Pisces now, is going to conjunct Neptune at 29 degrees, 53 minutes. Now, the last time these two were conjunct, Venus was in shadow. She's now retrograde. That was on the 1st of February. Definitely pay attention to your dreams this week. I have to tell you, I've had some of the most interesting dreams that I'm able to remember when I wake up, and sometimes over the course of the day, especially if you can write them down in a dream journal. But definitely pay attention to your dreams. Where are we? Now Venus is going to address. She's retrograde and now conjunct Neptune. Where are we thwarting ourselves from living our best lives? Relationship with relativity to relationships, self-worth, and prosperity. Okay, that same day, Black Moon Lilith is now at 0 degrees, 1 minute of Scorpio, and she is going to quincunx Venus, that has now before she moves in, I should say, before Venus was able to quincunx Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, is when she was quincunx Black Moon Lilith. And that's where Black Moon Lilith was asking us to be authentic. She was asking us to remember the lessons of our Karpman's triangle drama. Then Venus in Pisces is going to conjunct Neptune. So there'll be that trigger that occurs that is it's complex energy. Again, it's a quincunx between Scorpio energy and Venus in Aries. Then Venus backs in and has this conjunction with Neptune, asking us to manage the deceit in the lives where we've been foggy. Again, an internal process. Now on the 29th of this week, which is Saturday, Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio will quincunx Mars in Aries. Excuse me, Mercury in Aries. Lord have mercy. Let me start again. On the 29th, which is the same day of the new moon, new supermoon, partial solar eclipse, Black Moon Lilith at 0 degrees of Scorpio will quincunx Mercury retrograde in Aries, asking Mercury and us to revisit self-talk, mistrust of the I am, and how that related to the Karpman's drama triangle before he returns to the sign of Pisces. On the 28th, this is interesting to note. So this will be the day before the new moon, partial solar eclipse. The moon, which I usually don't bring the moon into these conversations just because the moon moves so quickly that it would bog us down in a sense. However, this is extremely important. The moon is going to conjunct Saturn. And on the 27th this week, Saturn actually connects with the eclipse point that was had almost 2 weeks ago. The first eclipse that was a full moon, total lunar eclipse, asking us to shed which no longer served us. Saturn hits that point, which triggers Saturn to carry that signature now. It asks us to take responsibility for shedding that which no longer serves us. Saturn conjunct that full moon total lunar eclipse point at 23 degrees, 57 minutes on the 27th. That is relaying a message now to the moon as the moon conjuncts Saturn. So Saturn hits the eclipse point, is moving forward. Now that moon that was part of the energy of the first eclipse, which was back in Virgo, if you recall, we were dropping that energy in Virgo, has now come all the way around the zodiac, well, halfway around the zodiac wheel, and connecting with Saturn, asking us to take responsibility. That moon, once it conjuncts with Saturn on the 28th, between the 28th and the 29th, which is the next day, when we hit the second eclipse, again, moon carrying the signatures, is going to move through the nodes of fate, the North Node, Venus retrograde, Neptune, Mercury retrograde, will sextile Pluto, then meet up with the Sun, which is also known as the super new moon, partial solar eclipse at 9 degrees of Aries on the 29th. This truly is a week of letting go to create space for a complete renewal of the true I am essence and existence. as we move through this week and as the moon steps into and connects with Saturn, who has had a visit with the eclipse point, is now, and it was in opposition, right? Saturn's in Pisces, and that's where the sun was at that time. The moon was in Virgo, but the Saturn connected with that sun energy, talking to us as individuals. But because the moon was across the sky, this could have to do with relationships. And then we'll draw in Karpman's triangle and moon and heart-centered energy. It's all working together. Now let's talk about the new moon. The super new moon, by the way. New moon, new super moon, partial solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees, which is ruled by Mars, which is direct in shadow, asking us to return to heart-centered consciousness, closing out the me versus we axis of the Aries North Node, Libra South Node, which we know was the nodes of the moon, the cycles we worked through from July of 2023 through January of 2025. We were discussing the sacrifice of the self, dysfunctional relationships, lack of presence of understanding the true essence of the I am due to conditioning, wounding, and perhaps control, lack of authenticity due to alliance with top-down authority structures with assertions of control. We will have Neptune at 29 degrees, 58 minutes of Pisces at the time of this new moon. The very next day, Neptune enters Aries for the first time in 165 years. So Neptune is carrying a message. Neptune at this anaretic degree of Pisces is creating 3D dissolution into chaos so it can be consciously redirected through 5D quantum understandings of trust, truth, and authenticity. Also, this energy is reinforced at the time of this new moon by Pluto's sextile to this new moon energy, further supported by Black Moon Lilith ingress to Scorpio, which is squaring Pluto to expose lies, deceit, victimhood, and toxicity. Now let's talk about the Kuiper belt objects at the time of this new moon. This new moon is actually the dawning, in my opinion, of new earth, where we can emerge as the true essence that has always been inside of us. And we are shedding, we're being asked to bravely and courageously shed all that which no longer serves us, beginning at the time of the previous eclipse and up through the next 6 months. This may not happen really quick for you. This may be a process that we're going to be enduring. However, the energy is present this week that we can absolutely take advantage of it. Let me continue. With the Kuiper belt object Manway, currently sitting at 3 degrees of Aries. Manway is the creator god. He is welcoming in this new energy, as does Salacia, who is conjunct the new moon at 10 degrees of Aries. Salacia is pure liquid light energy dancing on the water. Maki is currently in Libra, opposing this new moon. Maki is the Easter Island Rapanoe people's creator god of regeneration after a time of toxic destruction. Yes, he is sitting at 10 degrees of Libra, seeking, wanting us to co-create new earth. Ixion at 7 degrees of Capricorn, Quaoar at 11 degrees of Capricorn are creating a T-square with this new moon. Quaoar is the creator of harmonious revolution. Ixion is Pluto's lawless brother who was cast out on a karmic wheel of fate. I won't even discuss the relationship dynamic related to him because it has to do with the ultimate the ultimate destruction of the divine feminine through an act that is disgusting. So I won't even go there. That's at the 3D level. At the 5-dimensional level, it speaks about passionate spiritual missions. Creator God Manway is also working with Sedna. We love Sedna. Sedna is in Gemini at 0 degrees, sextiling this energy, providing the promise of metamorphosis from deep patriarchal wounding to the wisdom, beauty, and playfulness of whales, dolphins, and sea creatures. If you remember the myth of Sedna, there was a storm, a significant storm, and her father was in a canoe. She tried to climb aboard the canoe to save herself, and her father hit her fingers with the oar, and her fingers fell off. She sank to the depths. This is deep, deep transformation. And by doing so, she became the metamorphosis that we now know as whales, dolphins, and sea creatures. So there's so much renewal ingrained in this energy of the week. I think it's very important to note the Kuiper belt objects that are working with this energy as well. We are stepping into quantum energy, quantum understandings. It's time to embrace it if you can. Then 1 week from today, on the 30th, Neptune enters Aries at 7:58 a.m. I promise you this is a massive shift that is of the collective understanding. The last time Neptune was in Aries was in 1861. It has a 165-year orbit, and I truly believe that this is the beginning. This is spiritual warriorism on the cosmic order being born. So those are all the notes that came to me this morning. Now overall, and I know we're going long, thank you for sticking with me if you have. The overall energy in this channeling came pretty profoundly. The overall energy is one's ability to utilize this very potent energy of renewal and new beginnings will be relative to one's ability to clear patterns and cycles of conditioning and behaviors that worked in the 3rd dimension, however, are not supported in the quantum 5th dimension. Clear space for what's already there to expand and manifest. You will be amazed, and once you do, you can't go back, and gratefully so. What we will understand, at least in my opinion, and what I've learned, is the energy's there, the energy has been there. It's just been covered up with so many things that need to be swept out. Don't miss any corners in that 12th house energy. Venus is going back in there. Mercury's going back in there to help us understand. Saturn's asking us to take responsibility, and by the time Saturn moves into Aries, which I believe is in May, we will be making sure that this energy is cleared before both Saturn and Neptune retrograde back into Pisces. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I decided, since this is a new moon in Aries energy, let's pull out the dragon deck, right? The dragon oracle. You're not going to believe the card that jumped out. Lilac fire dragon energy. Let's look and see what the book has to say. Transmutes through the power of divine love. Open up to transcendent love and enlightenment. Purity of heart brings peace, hope, and joy. Let's read more. These dragons are fifth dimensional. However, they can reach up into the ninth dimension to access the awesome lilac fire of Source, which is a new energy recently graced to Earth. This carries transcendent love as well as enlightenment. When these dragons pour their lilac fire over and through us, we are bathed in divine feminine light, which has the power to dissolve all lower energies in pure love and bring us peace, hope, and joy. It also bathes us in the higher divine feminine qualities of wisdom, agape, and oneness. Having this energy in our aura may even allow us to experience bliss and ecstasy. Now for the guidance. When you choose this card, a lilac fire dragon will touch you with incredible ninth dimensional light. So call it in and ask it to touch you. As it approaches you, breathe in divine love and sense the lilac fire enveloping you. This will enable you to let go of the old easily, calmly, and graciously. Note particularly how you feel when this dragon touches you and sense the purity of the love that it radiates. Ask this dragon to remain with you to anchor the glorious light of the lilac fire and take you into a new and illumined way of being. When you do this, the love radiating from your heart will become purer and more beautiful. People will sense this and respond with trust, respect, and gratitude. Consciously work with this beautiful dragon and notice the difference it makes to your life and the quality of love around you. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I figured it was going to go long, so thank you if you stuck with me. I will do my best to timestamp this in case you have to come back at another time when you have more time. If you want to co-create with me, please do share this video with others. If you want to know when videos are being dropped, click the subscribe button. If you have any comments or suggestions, I would love to hear them. I'm so excited about this new moon. I can't wait to hear. If you have anything to say about it, please do share it with me. I think that's it. I hope you have a fabulous week of shedding that which no longer serves you and creating space for what's already in you, that true essence to come through, shine, and create all kinds of opportunity for you at the quantum 5D level. Namaste.